Hi, this is Steffi and welcome to the Financial Fox Bitcoin series. Today I'm going to share a conversation I had with Alex McShane. He's a well-known personality in the Bitcoin space. He's director of programming at Bitcoin Conference, which is the major Bitcoin conference in the world. And he's also general partner at Lightning Ventures, and he's directing Jack Dorsey Nostr conference series. So there is one coming up later in the autumn that I'm looking to join. Anyway, I love this conversation because it's the first time that somebody take you into the Bitcoin space in such a gentle way. And you always talk to different people in the Bitcoin space, and there is always kind of like you are going to war. That's wrong. That's right. You should do that. Oh, you are thinking in the wrong way. Where Alex, he was just so gentle. He likes sharing what he believes, sharing his views and opinion. And gosh, it was so nice to talk to him. We talk about the Bitcoin community, the Bitcoin ethos, and how important it is to curate your circle, the people you surround yourself by. And that's a very important point that each of you should think about it. I'm surrounding myself with the right people, with people they are happy, they are optimist, they are positive for my life. So I'm gonna leave you with this important thing to consider, and I'm gonna share my conversation with Alex that I really, really enjoyed, and I hope you do too. If you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, click the subscribe button now and follow us on social media to stay up to date with our news and interviews. Hi Alex, how are you?
I'm well, how are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. It's great to have you on the show. I'm really excited.
Me too. Thank you for inviting me.
Okay, let's start with a very important question anyway. I asked it for actually a few times to the guests that have come on the show for the Bitcoin series, which is when you first got into Bitcoin.
Yeah, I first got in a couple cycles ago, so it's been years at this point with many ups and downs. Got into it because I was looking for a way to complement my income, and so I was trading, and Bitcoin happened to be going on a tear, like late 2016 era, and me and my brother kind of started trading, and he was doing quite well with Bitcoin, so I started looking into it. Also got interested in a bunch of other kind of like altcoins. Fortunately, that interest only lasted a few months. I kind of realized the difference between Bitcoin and all the other crypto assets, and I stopped using all the other crypto assets, and have been focused on Bitcoin and working on Bitcoin ever since.
Okay, that's interesting. So tell me what clicked in your mind when you were trading all different altcoins, or you were in crypto, let's say, and then at some point you decided, right, now I want to focus on Bitcoin. What clicked in your mind?
From a self-custodial perspective, so I started self-custodying my Bitcoin very early, like 45 to 60 days after I got into Bitcoin. I was just kind of obsessed with the little technology, kind of like cold cards and different wallets that were available then, hot wallets, cold wallets, and I realized like the friction of self-custodying crypto assets was much greater. Particularly I tried to move some ETH like really early on, and I had to pay a fee. I didn't know what for. That was like more than the amount of assets I was moving, and I thought that was a bit ridiculous. I looked into it, and I realized the whole thing is basically a centralized kind of scheme to get people to buy in, and those thoughts were later validated, of course, when they moved off proof of work into a proof of stake protocol, left all their miners out to dry, and tons of ETH users just have their assets locked on that protocol, and will probably never regain access to them. Yeah. So it just clicked very early for me. For some reason, I just had a good voices surrounding me, I guess, that there is only one decentralized, like sufficiently decentralized protocol that alleviates trust in third parties. And with all the other protocols, you can be disenfranchised by the will of just a few people, a small committee, or in many cases just one person who kind of runs that protocol. So I wanted to just focus my efforts, just kind of have a singleness of purpose there and focus on Bitcoin.
Yeah, that makes sense. And listen, can you say that like the click that you had in your mind, it was like taking the orange pill? Is that what, people say in the Bitcoin space, or taking the orange pills means something else?
I think it's what it means. I think that kind of means like diving down the proverbial rabbit hole and just kind of getting an obsessive interest with Bitcoin. In terms of learning about it, there's like endless amounts of things to know about it, and we, as a community, we don't know everything about it. We don't know what the future holds. We don't know all of the implications of changes that are being made now and in the past. So there's a lot to learn. To be honest, though, I'm not a very big fan of orange pill as a phrase or even kind of a culture. I've found people very, very resistant to Bitcoin and orange pilling, because you have to fundamentally, to understand kind of a basic amount about Bitcoin, you have to admit that you're wrong about money basically your whole life and how it works. And you have to be very open-minded to adopt kind of this new understanding of economics. And, well, it's not exactly new, but it's probably new for most new Bitcoiners. So, I mean, to me, I don't really want to try to coerce people or trick them into finding that. Like, I think it's far better just to educate generally and give people as many touch points to free and open source software and Bitcoin as possible. And, with enough touch points, like I'd heard about Bitcoin back in 2013 and even before. And it wasn't until I'd heard of it 3 or 4 times that I started to pay attention and understand. And I think that's true of almost everyone. It's not the first time that you hear about it that the light goes off suddenly. Usually it takes kind of a number of introductions. So the idea that there's this kind of binary of like, you haven't been orange pilled or you have, doesn't really make sense to me. Everyone's got kind of a spectrum of experience that they're coming from, all unique, and they require different kind of education or experimentation to get beyond the very real hurdles of their entire understanding of kind of economics and government and money. So
I kind of think that you just said something so powerful here, that everybody needs their time to realize something. You need different introduction to Bitcoin. It's true, because I got in crypto was 2017, and I mean, I've been through ICO, Web3, and you get involved with all different kind of coins, right? And you lose money. You put coin in the farm and then disappear. You get hacked, and then you think about, right, I want to invest, and I was a trader. I mean, I'm still a trader sometimes. I still go back to the stock market and do a few trades, but you kind of like see that, right, I want to save for my future, and then you come down, what is going to be the assets, the best way to achieve wealth and basically really invest, right? And then you come down and eventually you get introduced to Bitcoin again. So I think that's a very important point. Each person needs his own time to realize the value of money, right? And what Bitcoin represents. So I think that's a very important point. Some people say, oh no, you're stupid, you need to understand Bitcoin, but it's like a journey that takes time inside some people's mind, because not everybody is there yet, but it is a journey. I agree with you. That's such an important point. So tell me a bit about the Bitcoin ethos, because the Bitcoin community is a strong community, and I think one aspect that I would like to understand is and it's also very united as well. So would you be able to kind of like unpack for me the Bitcoin ethos and, what are the pillars they believe? I mean, probably some they already came from the conversation that we had with other guests on the show. But if you would like kind of to describe the Bitcoin community, what they believe and how open they are as well to innovation.
Big questions, deep questions.
I know, it's a big question.
I think there are like a number of things upon which most Bitcoiners agree. For example, I guess you could call it the right to hold assets apart from the state and not be debased by unclear or like on the whims of others. So not have your assets inflated away or debased. Like Bitcoin's monetary policy is transparent, it's open, it's probably the most reviewed code in the world, but it works very well on large and small scales. Seems to be able to scale for now pretty effectively. So I think there's kind of also a fundamental hope for the future that this can become an asset for everyone in the world with an internet connection. I mean, you can use Bitcoin even without the internet just by virtue of holding some in a physical bearer instrument or otherwise. So there's like a number of problems with our current money that it solves. And I think for me, chief of which is I have money separate from the state that, very hard to take it from you if you self-custody it properly, and you kind of keep up to date with best security practices, and you find a situation that's right for you. It just allows you to save on longer time scales and to spend with absolute freedom, which is something that more and more you can't do with traditional state currencies. More and more kind of we're surveilled, and soon, if not already, CBDCs are going to kind of coerce and restrict people's spending in certain ways that are basically defeat the purpose of money. I mean, it's hard to even call fiat a real money in that sense. If it can be stopped, if it's only open from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., bank holidays excluded, if because of your history or what you want to buy or where you live or where you want to purchase something, you're denied service. These are all very scary problems for any population to face, and that's without even speaking about the debasement, like the inflation that's cuts away everyone's savings, and keeps the lower and middle classes down, keeps them from accumulating wealth. So in order to overcome that, I think the community is like very bravely championing this alternate way of doing things that comes with a lot of very loud voices and kind of both good and bad, and beliefs. I would say both for better and for worse, that make adoption kind of speed up and slow down at certain points. I guess I'm particularly talking about like a really loud group of maximalists that are going to kind of like fight against people that choose to do other things with sometimes even their own Bitcoin, but other assets certainly. Yeah, I might need a redirect there. I don't know if I'm answering your question.
No, I think you did. You did exactly. Exactly right. And so if we look at all the experimentation that is happening within the Bitcoin ecosystem, I'm talking about, let's say, ordinals, and there is a lot of things happening now on Bitcoin. What is your views on that kind of innovation? Is that good because it's kind of like forcing Bitcoin to be more scalable, or is bad because it's getting away from the primary use of Bitcoin, which is as money, right? And if you start to enter the world of Web3 with Bitcoin, maybe you shouldn't go there. I mean, I don't know. I would like to know what you think about it, and if you think it's good or it's not good, and why.
I think you get into this really interesting conversation of like code bases need to be updated, they need to be maintained, and so with that there's a lot of controversy, rightfully so, around how people go about that. I'm not a developer myself, so I can't speak to it very intelligently, but it's important to me that I have people who do understand all the changes that are being suggested and made, that I trust to kind of give me a good read on them. I don't have an alternative because I can't yet code myself. And I really, I guess in general, just encourage people to run their own node and to vote with their capital. It's like when it comes to ordinals, whether or not you agree they should exist or they're a net positive or negative, I'm going to fight for the right for people to spend Bitcoin however they want because it's within Nakamoto consensus, and I'm not here to censor anybody. I'm not here to I don't know, kind of call them names or attack them for spending Bitcoin however they want. I wouldn't want that to happen to me. That being said, I'm not really a big inscription guy. I own like maybe 10 inscriptions, most of which I made myself just as an experiment. I've never sold any. I'm not interested in really making a bunch of money or like dumping these pieces. They're like early pieces of art my friends and I made just for fun. But the whole thing's within Nakamoto consensus. So I don't really know what to tell people who are kind of raging against it right now, that it's spam, so on and so forth. Well, I don't know, I guess, propose a viable alternative path forward and we can assess it. But in all likelihood, I think those people will probably lose out, because what actually happened with ordinals and inscriptions is you had thousands and thousands of people that had no interest in Bitcoin suddenly learn how to use it and using it. And you had millions of dollars in revenue brought to miners who are otherwise having a really hard time in a tough market. Now, I don't mean to suggest that's Bitcoin's core purpose or that we need to look out for any of those people, but there's some very real positives as well that I don't think are discussed enough. Now, I'm at the same time not someone who believes that Bitcoin should adapt and grow to host or allow people to do every kind of new like DeFi, Web3, whatever kind of trick in the book that's been invented on other protocols. I don't think that's like worthwhile. I don't think it's safe. I don't want that by any means. If Bitcoin never changed, it already does what it needs to do for me, and I'd be quite happy with it the way it is. So I think just advocating that people educate themselves on what the process for implementing change in Bitcoin is, and maybe what they would like it to be, I think full stop, it's a good thing to do. Just kind of educate yourself on it. Don't try not to tell other people what to do. That's the whole reason we're here, is for freedom. So
yeah, exactly. I was just gonna come to that. I think we are here for freedom, and telling people what to do is probably the wrong things, and eventually things are gonna go in the way they should go. I think it is a really nice way to talk about this issue, or this happening, let's say. I kind of like that approach. It's very open-minded.
There's like a balance and, too. You don't want the protocol to ossify to a point where nobody's paying attention, maintaining it, or keeping it updated. But also, I don't want all these new abilities that are besides the point of alleviating trusted third parties and money separate from the state integrated on the protocol without, really at all, but without sufficient competent review and rough consensus from the whole community. So I guess, stay tuned. We'll see what Bitcoin becomes, but for now it appears to be working well.
Yeah. So if we talk about the Bitcoin conference, I mean, you are a director of programming. You have been, helping to put together those amazing events worldwide. They are I would say, the main stop for everybody in Bitcoin. But also, I mean, I was in Miami in May. It's also a place where a lot of people, they want to learn about Bitcoin. They go. I remember I met one CEO of a London listed company there, and he's not like a crypto guy, but he was interested about tokenization, and that was the conference that he attended to understand, and that was quite interesting. So tell me a little bit about how it all started with the Bitcoin conference, because they are produced by Bitcoin Magazine. That was one of the first publication for Bitcoin, and give me some insight of how difficult it is, how fun it is, and the importance also of those conferences.
I think since I've been involved with it the past few years, we've strived to bring best-in-class speakers to Bitcoin to help people educate and become educated about the protocol and the community and the companies surrounding it, and to try to broadly just boost signal and help onboard the world. It's a hard thing to understand. It takes a lot of time, a lot of touch points, and getting together for a sort of sprint over the course of a few days with tens of thousands of other people interested in something can really go far in accelerating not only someone's understanding, but finding them jobs, for example, in the community. I know a number of people and companies that have been started at our events, and people that have been employed as a result of them. So I think it's a very good thing for the Bitcoin category at large. And then to answer your question, it's super fun. It's like the most fun. There's not really anything I'd rather be doing at the moment. It's just it's the best place in the world to be. We're in a very exciting time. We're very, very early to kind of global adoption. of the asset, and I'm here for it, Our whole team is.
So the Bitcoin conference started in the US, and then now, I know there is a Bitcoin conference coming in Amsterdam. So how was actually entering the European community? Is that the first one that you're doing in Amsterdam? I think you have done already one, right?
Yeah, this will be the second one, this October 12th and 13th. We're very excited about it. It's a very difficult thing to do. We have to readjust kind of all our expectations and understanding of our audience, but fortunately we have many Europeans working on the teams on the ground in the Netherlands. I used to live very close to Amsterdam, so there's a lot of help there broadly, and in Europe too. People are very excited about this event. Pacing to be basically the biggest European Bitcoin event, and just, I think Europe needs a lot of help. I think there's very concerning things happening on the continent, and they need Bitcoin. So we're really happy to join the kind of the fellowship of other people putting on events there and trying to promote adoption.
Completely agree. You need more events like that. They get together the people, and more events. Bitcoin Magazine is able to do in Europe. I think that will be so valuable. And then there are many other countries that you can go, because it's always it's not always so easy to travel, but being able to have local events that you can join, I think that's is very important for the Bitcoin community. 100%.
Definitely, yeah. It gets interesting too with the kind of European politics. Yeah, I think it's super important. People get together in kind of brick and mortar buildings and discuss Bitcoin, finance, life in general. I think more and more in the virtual age, people become kind of isolated, secluded, get wrapped up in very maybe addicting communities that don't always feed us. We're kind of subject to an algorithm that might not always be the healthiest choice. So it's always important to meet kind of face to face, and I guess strengthen the network that way. So I'm a huge fan of Bitcoin meetups, both locally and conferences in general. I go to a lot of them. I spend probably 2-3 months out of the year traveling to them around the world, and I generally always come out with a lot of value for the cost of travel or whatever. New friends, new understanding, new kind of ambitions as you broaden your horizons of what's possible in the space, and what opportunities there are to help other people. So yeah, I'd recommend basically everyone, if you haven't been to one, come to a local Bitcoin meetup, start your own, come to some conference and see what's out there, because I think you'll find that people are very different in the real world than they may appear online, and you just get a more three-dimensional understanding.
100%. So there are these amazing meetups where people can meet in person, and then the Bitcoin community lives all on social, right? Lives all online, and some people are on Twitter, some people are somewhere else. Where would you say that the Bitcoin community lives online? Actually, what will be the best channels for some people that are new to the Bitcoin space to actually join in order to have proper conversation, right? And meet people, like-minded people, quality over quantity. That's what I want to get to.
Yeah, if you want high signal, I'd recommend Nostr, the protocol. There's a number of clients that you can join. Iris, Primal, Damus, of course, you can download from the App Store and, start working on an actually free speech platform right away. It's not like Elon's version of free speech. Right now, it's a somewhat niche community of Bitcoiners and free and open source software advocates, so there's not a lot of other noise to distract on the protocol as it grows right now. It's a very exciting time. People are super willing to help others that they don't know learn to use it and to manage their public and private keys and explore all the features of the protocol. So yeah, I would have to say Nostr 100%. It's actually the only social media I use at the moment. I have accounts on other platforms, but I don't have them on my computer or phone. I'm just strictly Nostr for about a month now, and probably going to continue that way because it's all I really need. It reduces stress levels and distractions by a large margin. I don't think people were made to take on the burden of the whole world all the time, and to see everything bad that's happening on the planet all the time is certainly not healthy. And to be fed kind of surveillance algorithms day and night, and to be censored. All of those things are rather unpleasant user experiences, so people should know that there are alternatives, Nostr being the most viable of them, that's growing at probably the most rapid pace, and it's got like the best and brightest minds working on it. So it's something akin to being an early adopter of Bitcoin, and it takes a minute to set up and get rolling, and you don't have to subject yourself to any data collection at all. You don't have to give any personal information. You can start an anonymous pseudonymous account instantly, and you're off to the races, and no one can censor you. So that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I also joined. That was a week ago, nice. And it's like a different feeling. I think and also the noise, right? There is so much noise out there, and like the crypto space is very noisy, and then you get distracted, and then this kind of confusion sometimes lower the potential of people, because I think each of us has got some great potential, but when you get like hammered from everywhere, then that kind of like put you in a situation where you're not going to be able to take the best out of you as well. So that's a very important point. And coming on there, I was reading your Twitter and I came across a very important point, and I said, oh gosh, I think this guy is so cool, because you said curate your circle. And that is such an important thing that not many people are able to do and actually understand is important to do. And when I read that tweet you put out, was one of the most important thing you should do is about curate your circle. I thought, oh gosh, he got it. So tell me why you came up with that and what's the process behind it.
Sure. I'm certainly not the person that came up with it, but I'm a big adherent to that philosophy. I really have my guard up kind of with new people, and I'm very careful who I let into my personal life, just because in order to stay kind of balanced and healthy, it's important that you control what you put into your body, and that includes information. There's endless amounts of things that you can consume coming at you all day online, and endless amounts of learned social behaviors that you will pick up on if you spend time with any group of people. So it's important, I think, to surround yourself by people you aspire to be more like. That's not to say surround yourself in a bubble. I think it's really important to also find reasonable, kind of rational critics of things you thought you had an understanding of, so that you can always kind of stay skeptical and kind of question and upgrade your beliefs, and strong opinions lightly held kind of thing. But I think people maybe don't practice enough. You can absolutely curate your friends and your environment. It may take time to get to a place where you want to be, but I think your aspirations as a person are hopefully always, your ambitions are always outpacing your ability. If they're not, you're probably not growing in one area or the other. So you have to keep kind of exciting, ambitious people around you. I think it's important, and reasonable people who can admit their flaws, can admit when they're wrong, and it's all about the ability to take in new information and also change as a result of it. Because if the only evidence of life is change, so if you're just going to have the same beliefs that you had since you were 13 years old your whole life, I think your life will be pretty unsatisfying from my perspective. So I'm always looking for new, interesting people to hang out with.
Yeah, agree. So who would you say are the most the people that in the Bitcoin space to follow? Who are the greatest minds in the Bitcoin community that you will list as the people that you want to be surrounded by?
I think you'll find most of them on Nostr when you join it. But of course there are others who aren't. I'd be excited for people to learn more about who is contributing to the Bitcoin on a protocol level. It doesn't seem like we have very many good skeptics of Bitcoin. From my experience, people that want to criticize Bitcoin, usually it turns out a few years later they end up becoming Bitcoiners themselves, or it becomes very clear you can debunk their arguments pretty fast. we've had them before, they don't actually have a good understanding. So probably rather not name specific names, but just say that I think those people become apparent to you as you explore this space, because they are people who are willing to change their frame of reference when they're presented with new information, and they actually consider things, right? They're not staunchly, I mean, there's trade-offs there, right? When you get like hyper brilliant people, they usually have kind of some pretty stubborn beliefs that aren't based in reality.
Yes.
But you know, you have to find them for yourself. I mean, the people I admire are not going to be the people that others necessarily want to follow. So I think I think it's just important to kind of explore and take in new things. I would say definitely avoid people who have a penchant for kind of, I guess it seems like wanting to hurt other people online, you know, say kind of nasty things, who put up poor arguments, or kind of wasting your time with like unnecessary negativity. That's all stuff that I think everybody can do with less of. So I like optimistic people. I like people who are excited about the future and who are working to build the world they want to inhabit. So yeah, I think that would be it, basically summarized.
And I think also, like you said, people, they're actually able to challenge, so perhaps having different voices, follow different people, they have got different opinion on different aspect. You don't want to be maybe follow just one point of view. It's also good to have different, so then you can kind of like be challenge yourself to make your own mind. At the end of the day, is your journey into Bitcoin, is is your freedom that you have to create as well. And Bitcoin just provide a tool, but everybody has to learn it that way. I think that's a nice way to see it.
And also, like, it's important to remember Bitcoin is a neutral commodity. So unlike fiat currency, you should just take that with like what people say about Bitcoin with a grain of salt, because Bitcoin's for enemies. Everyone, including nation states, will eventually probably adopt it. Anyone's free to use it and have their kind of opinions about it. So not every person that's a Bitcoiner is necessarily a good person. They might be a better capitalized person in the next 4 years, but you just have to be careful even within the community. Like, I encourage people to kind of stay skeptical without being, too much of a Scrooge. Just, curate an optimistic, like, forward-looking environment.
Brilliant. Alex, thank you so much for coming on the show. I think it was such a nice conversation, quite deep as well. People like they listen to podcasts and they don't want to be, they kind of like want to absorb, and they want other people to tell them the truth or to tell them how they do it. So rather than like getting challenged, maybe it's more they want to take information. And I think today we kind of like said that you shouldn't take information, but you should actually be more critic and being able also to be open-minded and free in the way that you question things, and trying to avoid things that are just going to be detrimental for you, and be more open to positivity. And the tools that Bitcoin is putting out there, they can just be an enabler, but they that's what they are. And listen, for anybody that obviously we have got the Bitcoin Amsterdam, so can you give us a sneaky peek or something happening, or something that you want to share with us ahead of the event? There is not much on the website yet, but I know that probably you're going to put out some cool things happening. Just tell us a little bit about what you're planning.
Yeah, so we're planning a 2-day event in Amsterdam. I think tickets at the moment are going for about 300 euros, general admission, 3,000 euros for VIP experience. It's October 12th and 13th. I'm super excited to welcome back Stella Assange as a speaker, Julian Assange's wife, who gave a really heartfelt, kind of beautiful speech of the role that Bitcoin played in Julian's life last year, and we're looking to do kind of even bigger, more interesting things this year, as well as Will Kasserin. He developed Damas, a good friend of mine, and great speaker and advocate for free and open source software as well. You know, we've also got John Carvalho, we've got Rockstar developer Willem Middelkoop, Benjamin Gagnon, Antoine Ponsat, Joe Hall, Pete Rizzo, of course, and a host of other people. Maybe even some controversial speakers from the Nostr and also the ordinal inscription communities. So just stay tuned. We're gonna be rolling them out.
Okay, brilliant. Well, I would say people need to go. You know, if you're interested in just exploring the Bitcoin space, join Nostr, and then you can find the people to follow and the people to get challenged by, and and then come to the Bitcoin Magazine events.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, Alex, brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thank you.